Alrighty, welcome back to Global League Review. This is the 1100 match. Now, dare I say, this is a pretty darn stacked 1100 match. So it's Edgar XD versus Starflash 250. So the funny thing about this is like both of these players have touched and like been through 1300. So Edgar XD went on a little bit of a losing streak. But yeah, I mean, he's gotten into the 1300s. Very solid player. Quite a few games, nearly 200. And Starflash is a newer player, but they've been absolutely killing it with league games. I mean, we're looking at, gosh, it's like 350 league games. And I think they joined, I mean, I don't think Starflash has been playing more than 6 months. So the fact that they've gotten, so they're only at 1241 right now, but they were in like the mid 1300s for a while. I guess they've been going through a bit of a losing streak, as it happens. But yeah, look at all these games. I mean, there are 20 league games right now. Ridiculous. And I've played Starflash a few times too, and they like seriously crank out turns. Like I sit and think for a little bit, make sure that I'm happy with my move. Then as soon as I move, they're like move, 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 move. So yeah, pretty cool stuff. The map here is Last Vigil, Vigil, as it's more commonly pronounced. So this is a weird one. This is tier 3, okay, because you could imagine Kindle being a good pick here on tier 2 as well. So in tier 3, I do agree that Kindle does look like a great pick. Small map, important cities, like so this city and this city are both pretty contestable. It's not too hard to contest one of these two cities, if not both. And so the other important fact is that there's barely any terrain. I mean, there's any barely heavy terrain. There's this mountain. There's some deep forests. And then in the middle, there's 2 forests. But everything else is 1 star or lower. So Lash doesn't seem particularly attractive here, unless you're going to try to stick an artillery here, which doesn't really protect these cities, it just covers them, or an artillery here, which is a little bit strange. It's pretty exposed. You have this mountain for cover, but like on the left, it's just completely open. If you want to build artillery here, wall, 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 wall. So like you have to build a very long wall in order to push this far, in order to very safely stick an artillery here. You could also do artillery. You could do artillery covering artillery, so you could do artillery here and then have an exposed artillery with more artillery behind it. But I mean, the thing is, like, then you're dealing with Kindle wall breaks with these 2 cities if you're going to wall up right here. So yeah, I mean, honestly, Kindle seems like a very good pick here. And then I suppose Rachel seems also pretty decent because the map is pretty small. But Andy, basically in tier 3, I'm thinking like since the map is small and kind of light terrain, the stall COs are not going to be particularly attractive. So then what remains is Kindle, Lash, sort of Andy, and among those 3, Kindle seems the most. It seems like the most natural pick. All right, so yeah, let's get into this. This will be interesting because both of these players are like newish. Like I think Edgar XD started playing about a year ago, and both of them rose pretty quickly. So I'm interested to see if that extra 6 months of experience that Edgar XD has versus the extra 150 games that Starflash has. I'm interested to see who has the advantage. All right, so far no surprises in capture phase. They're going for the nearby cities first. That's like I don't know. Going for the nearby cities first is like I don't know. It's a pretty good bet when um, you're first playing a map. So right. So an important thing about both Kindle and Sammy on this map is that they can do this opening here, where their second infantry goes here and then captures this forward city. Because if infantry decides to interrupt, then they're eating like a Kindle. Either they're eating a Kindle shot with lots of counterattack damage, or they're eating or they're eating Sammy shot with a little bit less counterattack damage, but also Sammy gets to capture. So both Sammy and Kindle can kind of go this route and brazenly capture the city. Okay, so naturally, Starflash decides not to go for the attack here. Interestingly, goes for the comm tower over the city. Makes sense, honestly, just because fighting here starts so early. So yeah, good pickup by Starflash to realize that fighting's going to start so early that going very early comm tower makes sense here. So naturally, Starflash does the mirror opening here, going for this city with Kindle as well. Edgar XD actually doesn't capture the nearby city or the comm tower, but actually goes over here to capture this city, which I think is a kind of surprising move. I mean, this base here doesn't have many properties to capture besides this one. So using one of the rightmost base's infantry to capture this base that kind of belongs to the central base, this city that belongs to the central base, is a little weird. Like, you would expect this infantry to just capture if it's going to go for cities. All right, so... Oh, I see. So interestingly enough, Starflash kind of has an interesting punish here. Since Edgar doesn't go for the comm tower, Starflash can go for the city capture pretty confidently. So if Edgar had gone for the tower last turn, Edgar can... Let me show you a move planner. All right, so so suppose that this was the board state instead. What Edgar XD can do is this. You can do finish, capture the comm tower. Then you move... oh, it doesn't work. I take it back. What I was imagining was this, but that obviously doesn't work. So if you do it this way, the problem is that the tank counter hits the tank, and then you're in deep shit. So yeah, that's not really an option. I was thinking that this infantry and the tank could hit from the same square, which it can't. Yeah, if there was a way to do this, and then cover up, then Starflash's move would have been a disaster, but Starflash is good enough, so they realize that they can just go for this capture anyways. So it's not like a completely safe move, though. I mean, there's still the interrupt for the mountain. So Edgar has that open to him. Also, I'm kind of bummed that the replay isn't move by move. It's a little hard to see everything otherwise. All right, so Edgar XD, first infantry here goes left. That makes sense, because what else is there to capture? A second tank from the left-hand side. And actually, he had exactly 9,000. So the tank build was fine. Um, wait, no way. Did he actually go for this interrupt? Yeah, I kind of would have preferred artillery to tank, because that way you can. Oh, I see. Starflash got off of the comm tower and surprised him by going for the city. I see. Okay. And of course, by like delaying the comm tower, you're not losing on anything necessarily. So funnily enough, like this infantry tank on infantry on city is that's actually a roll. I forget the odds, but it's not a particular. It's like it. You don't. It's not guaranteed. You got a little bit lucky there, but he still eats the tank shot, and that's a 9-3. And a 9-3 on your first tank is brutal. So I don't really know what Edgar XD is thinking here. Um, I mean, the good news is that it prevents the infantry from taking the city, and you do have the tank backup. But even still, like the tank backup, I guess it is like within reinforcement range, and this here tank is a bit late to the party, so it's not the worst thing in the world for Edgar. So yeah, here's the split. But yeah, still it's a 5-6 on the second tank, so you could even sit and do another big shot if you wanted to. I mean, okay, I suppose there's the third tank backing it all up. Okay, so let me just continue this line a little bit longer. So Edgar XD basically has 9 tanks worth of damage, not 9 HP tank of damage on him, and he dealt 5 HP tank damage. So that's like 4 tank HP difference. And then Starflash gets to go capture the city again. So yeah, I would definitely recommend infantry from mountain being the interrupter, and then like regrouping, healing your tanks, and then prepare for like a big counter hit when they smack your infantry. Oh, okay. Actually, he finds the tank infantry shot, the tank infantry clear, which is now guaranteed because of the tower, which is a nice find because now and the artillery to back it up. Okay, good. So I like all that. Very good. So there's the interrupt, um, which is not the worst thing in the world. Although losing this infantry with the tank from the city kind of sucks. Um, and there's enough tanks around right now that Edgar XD can't really go too crazy versus this tank. Um, and all these infantry are really far back, so it's going to take a while before you get enough infantry to cap here. So probably what I would do is retreat, already lock this city, regroup, heal your tanks, and then prepare for the next push. So instead, he goes for the shot. He's going to lose the infantry, already lock. This tank looks pretty exposed. Yep. Okay. And then they all kind of regroup and like. Right, sounds good. All right. So that exchange did not go particularly well for Edgar XD. I mean, I think the idea here has to be you're like I can fight for this city along this tank path because it's within 1 turn reinforcement of my base, and it's 1, 2, and it's 2 turns for you. So it's okay for me to take a little bit of a weird engagement with my tank because I'm just going to spam tanks out of this leftmost base, and I'm gonna not lose too hard eventually. Like if we go on long enough, um, like basically the idea is when you're fighting close to your own base is that if it takes 1 fewer turn for you to reinforce than your opponent, then they have to have an extra tank that's always in transition, whereas you have no transition turn. So it's like they have to spend 7K for a tank to be halfway there at all times. So it's like you're being more efficient with your money. I hope that makes sense. That's kind of the way that I think about it. Um, so Edgar XD was trying to take advantage of that, but I think that a 9-3 split is just a little bit. It's like right at the cutting edge of what's acceptable for that trade-off. So, all right. So we've talked a lot about this left-hand side. Let's see what else is going on. And the other important thing is if you're going to start a tank fight like this, like you're kind of forced to continue it as Edgar XD because you've taken the loss at the beginning of the exchange. So when you give up, when you stop supplying tanks and you retreat prematurely, like if you're the first one to stop the exchange, then you've lost what you've then what you've lost at the beginning you carry over to the end. Whereas if it's Starflash that retreats at the end, then you're even approximately. So you don't want to be the first one to give up the exchange. Although at worst it's like 6 tank HP, so it's not a huge problem. It's like a medium, yeah, 6 HP tank exchange. It's just going back and forth. So on the right here, Starflash actually gets both of these properties. So let's see what happens here. So the first one, okay, makes sense. You don't want to interrupt because you're going to lose an early infantry. Now on the second one here, since Edgar XC didn't go for the comp cap early, he doesn't really have any infantry around that can interrupt this city unless he decides to stop his power capture. So Starflash just happily goes for this city capture. Oh, but on the other side of the board, Edgar really wants his tank to do damage, so he needs to finish comm tower capture. And then Starflash gets the city for free. So this is like one of these, I don't know, it's like a co-threat in Go where you have threats happening on both sides of the board. And since you need to respond to threats on one side of the board, like it affects how you play the other side. So here Starflash gets a nice little bonus because Edgar XD fights into an awkward engagement where he really needs some power. And by finishing his comm tower cap early, he's sort of forced to give up this city, to not interrupt this city, which you probably want to interrupt this city if you. Let's go back. So in this position here, if disregarding the left-hand side, I would seriously consider interrupting this capture with the comm tower infantry, and then capturing the comm tower after that. There's nothing else to hit you. It just seems like a pretty decent idea. Plus, it preserves the symmetry from the left to the right, where neither city's been captured, so your opponent doesn't go up the city. So, yeah, that's my evaluation at least. All right, so let's see what else happens. All right, so now we have the unfortunate double Kindle, double infantry, double city thing happening. Now neither. So these infantry are going to be like impossible to dislodge without tanks and artillery. The middle looks pretty calm. Okay, so Edgar XD goes double artillery build with a base skip. I like the artillery build on the left, as I said before. In the center, it doesn't gel all that well with the recon build that Starflash just did. But I suppose if the artillery goes center and then like you have the two base collapse onto the left-hand side, then Edgar XD could get a little bit more momentum going on the left while on the right, I mean, we're not going to dislodge these two infantry off the city without a pretty significant firepower increase. So Edgar XD probably just says, okay, well, you have everything you can get on the right-hand side. You're never going to push this deep with as many infantry as I have. So why don't I just like move the rest of my forces all the way over to the left and secure this capture? And sure enough, it's just infantry on the right-hand side. Um, kind of awkward that he doesn't have a mech for this recon. But I guess he felt that the need for a helicopter. I don't know. Instead of helicopter, you could do artillery mech. Oh, you could do artillery tank actually. Sorry, not artillery tank. I meant to say with Bopter infantry. So just like instead of the infantry, that's a mech. Instead of the infantry, that's a tank. So yeah, it'd be nice to see mech here just to support all these infantry versus just a single recon. And interestingly, actually, Starflash responds to base skip with base skip. Weird. Oh, with 13K doing artillery. Okay. So I'm most interested to see right now what Edgar XD does with his artillery. I think he's going to bring it left side. Yeah. Although this is very far forward. Yeah, and he does get punished for this. I don't know. I feel like there's a time and a place to like stick your infantry way up front like this. This just doesn't feel like it because you don't have anything really covering these infantry out here. Like this tank can get smacked, as we see is about to happen. So like there's like 2 infantry smacked and then the tanks hit. So I guess Starflash generously decides not to scoop around the side. There's some nasty things that could happen with like if you cut off the reinforcement path to this city, really bad things can happen. Like if Starflash sort of dives here, it just looks sketchy if that doesn't work. See, like now there's no unit to go to the left-hand side of this infantry. So you have to, there's no infantry that can move here. So like, for instance, this and this does not kill, I'm pretty sure. So you get like 1 tank hit there, and then everything else is just, it's like a weak follow-up, hitting infantry. But the 2 tanks are like pretty well untouched. And you have these other 2 tanks ready to do some damage. And the rest of your army is like mostly artillery, 1 tank, a tank that's kind of wounded, helicopter. I don't know. It just looks a little sketchy. So I mean, I could dive into further detail, but I don't want to bore you guys. So anyway, so Edgar XD goes for this kind of forward position that I don't like, and then it gets punished. And it's scary because it's like doing significant infantry damage to a composition that kind of relies on being uh, big and deathbally. So doing this damage is like pretty significant. Although the counter hit on this tank from the city is devastating. Oh, but Starflash gets CO power back. Oh, so actually, so this city, this tank on the city is pretty yucky. Oh, but no CO power. Okay. Okay, so Starflash regroups. Um, Seems smart. Oh, very nice. Yeah. Anti-Kindle strats equals the artillery here. Anti-Kindle strats involve like sticking artillery to cover cities so that you can no longer park stuff there for free. Although it's a little bit less important in the Kindle mirror because you have CO power to do that for you anyway. Yeah, I don't know what Edgar XD is doing, just kind of parking its tanks on cities with CO power about to pop. All right, so there's a recon surround here. And it's a airtight one, so that's good. Um, the B-copter kind of is inspired to go right to take care of this recon, or else it's just going to chip down on this infantry stuff, on this infantry blob. Edgar XD also enjoying a bit of a unit count lead. I haven't really been following that. Okay, but Starflash finds a really nice power turn. Oh, I see. So it's going to be tank. So there's, I see. So the key here is that the anti-air one-shots the anti-air one-shots the infantry. The weakened tank gets one shot, and then this 9 HP tank, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, goes onto the city and like one shots this tank. So that's a nice pickup. Oh, it doesn't do that. What? I would even like sack a tank in order for that to happen. I'd consider it at least. Um, yeah, because I guess you don't get CO power before you get to hit. Yeah, well, okay. Anyway, so this is the move that Starflash found. Um, I mean, it's good anyways. I'm not even sure if the attack idea I had even works. It might, but you would just have to like sack a bunch of tank HP to do it. So maybe that's not what you want. I mean, not a bunch, but probably like sack 5 tank HP to do it. All right, so this is Starflash's attack. There's a capture here, which is going to get interrupted by power, it looks like. And it looks like no important. There's going to be an infantry one-shot involved because of the city here. But luckily, no units directly on top of, directly adjacent to this city for Starflash. Okay, B-copter and anti-air are both intact, and it looks like neither's going to get. It looks like both are not going to die, so the air defense is solid. Oh, is this where resignation happens? No. Okay, so I like this counter hit by Edgar XD. Actually holds on to CO power. Gonna lose this 5 HP tank. Capture here. These two artillery on the left look like they're out of position. I would imagine it would be really nice to have I don't think you need 2 artillery here. Just this artillery being open. This tank can hit this artillery, but if it's next to a city, then that's like sufficient reason not to attack the artillery, I believe. Yeah, and then this artillery could go right here. That way you kind of fortify your ball in the middle, which looks like it's about to die. And it dies. And Star Flash, again, does a good job of avoiding kind of playing the cities are lava, so Edgar doesn't have a particularly great CO power, and looks like he kind of has to go super. So it looks like he'll get a couple of tank one-shots here. Does. And kills the B-copter too, which is pretty nice. Oh, he even gets that infantry, that's cool. And finally, like, fully brings all of his units together in like a coherent area. He's safe out of artillery range. It's like he's playing the cities are lava pretty well. So yeah, Edgar XD's still hanging in there, although his unit value is a little bit sketchy. Okay. This is the last turn? I'm confused. How does Edgar XD think this is ultra losing? Like, he's not down any properties. I mean, he's down a bit in unit count. Keep the log. Oh my gosh, what is this? This is the end? Huh? What? Alright, well, I hope you found that entertaining. I can't believe that the game ended like this. I mean, it's not good for Edgar XD, but it's not like he has nothing. You know, these two artillery here are pretty nice, and then I mean, the mech backing up this anti-air is pretty intimidating. You could do things like tank sack and then have two tanks hit this. Yeah, let me just show you what I mean. You could do. Let's bring the back one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, now he's down to 9. Now you remove. You can do this. You can do hit, do hit, do remove, move. Okay, another tank here is forced. Okay, then you do 8 and move. Oh no, let's do wait and then move this guy here. Wow. Wait, stop it. You probably don't want to get hit too much. Like, right? This doesn't look ultra over. And then if you're scared about the 1 HP B-copter, you could have put an infantry here. And that was just a single tank. Like you have more builds you can do. The income is like 13. The income is 16. So yeah, you could do. And what's the money? He has 20K. Oh, you could do tank artillery. Here you do tank artillery, and then you have 4 infantry here. You can do like this, 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 move, this, right? Like you could just dive on these infantry. Instead of artillery, you could even do mech, like a normal thing to do. Right? This looks good. Okay, so I don't know why the game ended, but I don't know. It's easy to get confused and like demoralized, so I can't blame anyone for that. I've definitely resigned in questionable positions too, and maybe it was a boot. Again, like we can look. Blue Moon Day 14 action. Nothing. All right. Well, yeah. Thanks for tuning in for that one. I think it was interesting fighting. I think we got to see some cool concepts in play, especially with respect to fighting near your own base. And then I think this last move here shows you exactly how powerful artillery are. Did Starflash had CO power available, so this would have hurt a fair bit. But I just wanted to show that it doesn't, like, it's not immediately dead. It's just moderately dead. Because yeah, you do goes like this, remove this, remove this, remove. Oh, wrong button. You go away, and then this guy stays. Okay, that's pretty bad. All right. Well, okay. Maybe I just didn't go through the move plan. I would have forced Starflash to do something. Anyways, yeah. Thanks for tuning in for this totally stacked 1100 game between 2 great players. I'll see you guys next time in the 1200 game.